Welcome back to the Castos YouTube channel. Today we're going to go in a deep dive to WordPress archives, displaying your Seriously Simple Podcasting podcast post types onto your WordPress website. It's a mouthful. There's a lot here. This one's pretty deep. I'm going to show you 3 different ways. It's a handful of different ways to show your podcast on your site. This is a great video if you're really trying to customize a WordPress website for your podcast, or you're trying to figure out where are my podcast episodes? Like I can see them in my dashboard of WordPress, but how do I get them to show on my website? And then it's a little bit of intermediate to advanced. Okay, so grab your popcorn, grab your coffee, your favorite drink. Let's dive right in. I'm using the Astra theme for WordPress. It's a very popular free theme. And I'll be showing you Seriously Simple Podcasting plugin. It's important to remember that all themes are going to look different. You might see some different menu settings. You might see some different ways that this is all going to look. It all really deeply depends on how your WordPress website is configured. There's a lot of things here that are not part of our plugin's responsibility. The display, the style, the layout are not things that our plugin can assist with. It's sort of the nature of WordPress. And one of the most challenging things here, as I preface what we're about to get into, is custom post types and custom post type archives are largely fairly technical and things that you don't have control over as a user of just basic WordPress. You really either need to know how to code and style a theme or a template. Your theme has to have options built in to customize these archive pages, or you're using a page builder like an Elementor, which gives you a lot of control and a lot of design control over it, but is another step up. It's another step up for that learning curve around building and customizing a WordPress website. Okay, so we try to balance the line between what our plugin can do for managing your podcast in WordPress and sort of assisting the design and layout stuff as best as we can, building it in a way that it will be compatible with WordPress. Okay, now that the fine print's out of the way, let's dive in to the back end. In my staging site, I have a sample podcast. It's got 30 or so episodes in here. This might look like your podcast or your WordPress site. You might be scratching your head saying, well, I just imported all my podcasts to WordPress. Why don't I see them on the front page of my website? How do I get them there? And you are absolutely correct. What some people will do, and this is one of the pitfalls, is they'll go to create a new page, and they'll say, well, I want a podcast page. And they say podcast. They type in the word podcast, and they'll say, welcome to my podcast. And we'll hit publish. And we'll view the page, and there's no podcast, but you do have a podcast page. I'm going to show you how to set this up today with this methodology, but I'm going to show you what happens by default. The trained eye might see this URL up top and see that when I titled the page podcast, the WordPress link, or slug as it's known, added the number 2 at the end. That's because the word podcast /podcast is already reserved for Seriously Simple Podcasting plugin, custom post type of podcast, named podcast. That's all of our podcast episodes. So it's already reserved. You can't just title a page podcast because the custom post type is already taking up that space, if you will. So if you go to your website URL and you just type in the word podcast, this is what it's going to show you. Now, remember, it's going to look largely different depending on what your theme looks like. But this is what's known as the archive of your podcast post page. So it's going to display it, hopefully, just like your blog is displayed on your theme. And these are all my episodes. When I click into an episode, boom, there it is. I can see the description. I can play the podcast episode. But how do we get it to the front end of our website? This is not something that WordPress makes also clear for you. Okay, so it's known as the archive page. We're going to go ahead and hit customize. You can do this from the front end or the back end, just like I did. We'll go to the menus. This might look different. This left-hand column, this customizer column, might look different on your theme than it does on mine. But every theme, every compatible theme should have a menu section. And when we go into our primary menu section, again, it could be labeled differently in yours. You'll see I have my two links, home and shortcode, which you see up here, home page, shortcode page, which I'll show you in a moment. And we want to add that podcast custom post type to our menu. So we'll click on add items. We'll go to the podcast custom post type. And right at the top, you see we have all episodes. It says post type archive page. That's what we want. We want this post type archive page. So we click that. Adds it to our menu, and it has the title all episodes. Now you can see I could grab any podcast, single podcast, but we don't want a single podcast. We want all of them, the post type archive. So we've added that. Let's go ahead and hit publish. And now there it is. There is our all episodes up in the navigation. So let me go back to home. There's our home page. Click on all episodes. There's all of our Seriously Simple podcast plugin posts, podcast posts. But here's the dilemma. There's no edit button. You can't edit an archive page. Depending on your theme, you might be able to. Depending on your page builder, you most certainly are able to. But if you don't have any of those, and you're not really planning on getting getting a page builder or customizing your own theme, this is largely what WordPress gives you. And it's fine for maybe 90% of you, but 10% of you out there want to go ahead and customize this page. You want to add more stuff to your podcast page. Maybe you want it to look differently than your blog posts. Maybe you want it to have some call to actions at the top to subscribe to your podcasts on iTunes, Spotify, Google, stuff like that. Maybe you don't want the title to read archive posts. This is that gray area where you have to kind of know the nomenclature around WordPress. You might have to customize some things in the code, and it can get kind of daunting. It can get kind of dirty. Now, sometimes a theme will allow you to do this stuff, but if it doesn't, what can you do? Well, let me show you what you can do today. Quickly, if I click on the shortcode page, we have a shortcode to display a playlist of all of your episodes. So if you came to me and you said, I do not want this archive page to display. I don't like how it says archive posts. I don't like how I have to scroll down. I don't like this look and feel. I just want a single page with all my episodes on it. And I want to be able to, what's most important to me is I want to put call to actions and other content around my episodes. Just give me something quick and dirty. The shortcode is the answer. If we edit this page, it's this shortcode right here. Don't pay attention to this one just yet up top. It's this shortcode right here, podcast_playlist. Shortcode is a snippet of text, which behind the scenes is actually a whole bunch of code to do something. And in our case, it's that playlist. So if you just wanted to drop a playlist on your site, podcast playlist, boom, there's the shortcode. You can come in and put more text, space that, copy, paste it, boom, 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 boom. You can have a whole bunch of text. You can hit update, preview, and then we'll take a look at that. And this allows you to add stuff on this page, play around with this page, call to actions, other media, stuff like that, and there's all of your posts. So if you wanted the fastest way to get all your episodes onto a single page, that shortcode is the answer. But what if you want to link to those episodes just like the archive page does? Here's where I'll show you. Another plugin that's totally free is called WP Show Posts. If you go to plugins, add new, search WP Show Posts. Excuse me. It's already active, so I already have it installed. If you don't have it installed, you can see install now, activate, and it's a fairly popular plugin, 70,000 active installs, lots of 5-star reviews. And what this does is allows you to build a query of content to display on your WordPress website. Basically, it says, hey, go into the database, pull out these podcast episodes that I'm looking for, give me a little shortcode to put on any page so I can display that there. In other words, I don't want to use that archive page thing. I want to make my own page. Here's how we do it. So we'll click on Add New. Say All Episodes. And you're going to select which post type do you want. Do we want a post? No, because that's all of our blog posts. Do you want a page? Nope, because that's all the pages. I want this podcast custom post type. That's what our plugin defaults to. So we'll say podcasts. We're going to omit this taxonomy field for now. We don't want any of that stuff right here. How many of these do you want to show per page? How many posts per page do you want to show? How many podcast episodes do you want to see on that entire page? You have your options here to fill that out. I'm going to say 4. Just so you can show it, I can show it to you a little bit differently. Oh, you know what? I'll do 6. Let's do 6. Then it's going to say pagination. Do you want pagination on? The answer is yes, because if you have more than 6 podcasts, you want to be able to click next and get to the next page, right? So we want that pagination. Columns. How many columns do we want to display this in? Remember, there's 6 total posts, so it would be, if it's 2 columns, it's 3 and 3. Or excuse me, 2, 2, and 2. And if we had 3 columns, it would just be 3 and 3 to display 6. We're going to leave it at the 3 columns just so I can show you. Images. If you have a featured image for every single episode, you have to enable this in order to display it. I don't have any images on this test site. And if I did, it would display, but I'll leave it alone. Content, largely I'm just going to leave everything by default. I don't want to go into every nook and cranny of this plugin because it's very powerful, and I just want to show you how to get these things onto the site. We definitely want to include the title. We want people to see what the title of that post is, which is generally the title of your episode. And we can check these other things like the metadata, include date, yes, include author. I'm going to say no. I'm just going to leave the date in there, and that's it. So I'm going to hit publish. And you can see right here, I get this little shortcode, so I'm going to highlight that, Control-C it. Now I'm going to go to a page, hit all pages. I'm going to create a new page. I'm going to add new. I'm going to say my podcast. I'm going to paste in that shortcode that we just built and hit publish. Publish again. View the page. And there it is. This is our episodes that we just queried for or built a view for. And you can see it's the 6 episodes in 3 columns, so 2 rows, right? Our 6 episodes, and then here's our pagination below where we can skip around and go to the other pages, right? Now, this allows us to leverage our WordPress theme and the templates and the layouts and stuff like that, so we can start to build ourselves a kind of unique landing page for our podcast. So let's go ahead and edit the page. Now remember, I'm going to move myself out of the way. I think that works. Yep. Remember, this is going to look largely different and have different options for your theme. If you're not using the Astra theme, it might look a little bit different. But on this one, let's say I'm going to disable the page title, and I'm going to say no sidebar. And I'm going to say full width contained, just to really kind of change things up a little bit. Click on update. We'll preview that page again. And there it is. So now we have a really different look and feel than our all episodes page. So let me go ahead and add this to the menu before I forget. So we're going to go to customize, menu, primary menu, add this page, which I just called my podcast, to the list, publish, exit. So there's my podcast, that's this page, and here's the all episodes, click that. That's the archive page. So this archive page is dictated by the Astra theme. I don't have any control over how this looks. At least I haven't configured it, but this is how it looks out of the box. And this is how your site might look out of the box. So I have no control over this, but if this works for you, it works for you, and you no longer have to continue watching this video. But if you want to customize it, you can see what I did. I created a new page. I used the WP Show All Post plugin. I said, give me all of my podcast episodes and let me put them onto this page. That way, when I edit this page, again, we can do a whole bunch of things. We can add in an image. Actually, I don't even need that. I can just do image, media library, select, whatever it is that we're trying to achieve. Let's make it a little bit more interesting. So we'll do column, 2 columns. I'll grab this block. No, I won't. I'll grab this block and I'll paste it in here. Whoops. Paragraph. Paste that image in there. And then I'll do something like heading, welcome to my podcast. Update, preview new tab. Right, so now I can go in and I can add other elements around my podcast page, whatever it is. I mean, obviously that was just a quick example, but image on the left, text on the right, whatever you want to set up using your WordPress site, videos, call to actions, email signups, and then all of your podcast episodes below it. Put it on any page. There you go. Straightforward, right? Not straightforward, kind of technical, but using the WP Show Post plugin. Okay, so there's that. That's the difference. Shortcode, we just put a shortcode on. It just shows you this playlist, and there's all my episodes. And when I click it, it just plays it. I don't go into a single post. You can do your all episodes, which is the archive. You can see it all. Can't control the design, but you can click into your podcast. And then that third level, you create your own landing page. You use something like WP Show All Post plugin, and then you drop all of those episodes onto an individual page. Custom post types, archive pages, WordPress, right? That's what WordPress and your theme, that's what largely dictates the look and feel of this stuff. Okay? Lastly, the sort of third segment of this, if you're somebody that uses, well, actually, let me show you one more thing. So if we go back to all episodes in the WP Show Posts, we'll switch it to 2 columns just so you can see the difference. And there's another option here that says read more text. Since it's a podcast, maybe we'll put in the words listen now and hit update. Then we'll go back to the front end of our site, click on my podcasts. Boom, there it is. So now this is 2 columns, and they all say listen now. Instead of read more, which is the default WordPress text, we put in listen now. You click the listen now, it goes into that individual episode. Okay, so those are the types of things that you can do to customize that podcast landing page or archive page, however you want to refer to it as. Now, the other powerful thing on this is if you're somebody that uses Seriously Simple podcasting plugins for series, many shows on one WordPress website, this is another great solution for that. So we'll go into the dashboard again. I'll show you under podcast series. I have these 2 series right here, Matt's Comedy Podcast, Matt's True Crime Podcast. None of them have been assigned to any episodes right now. But we'll quickly do that. We'll just add 3. So we'll go Matt's Comedy Podcast, update, Matt's Comedy Podcast, update, Matt's Comedy Podcast, update. So that's 3 episodes I've assigned to the comedy podcast series. And if I go back into show posts, we can edit this. And now we can actually go into this taxonomy section and say, I want to show all podcast posts by a series. And because I've assigned 3 of those, the Matt's Comedy Podcast series shows up. I'll click that, hit update. And now if we go to visit the site and click on my podcasts, 1, 2, 3, that's the 3 comedy podcast episodes that I defined to say, only show me these comedy podcasts in this series. That's what I want. So if I had many different shows and I want to have a landing page for each one, like I wanted to have the comedy page, I can go back into this right now. I can close this. I can say, welcome to the comedy section of my podcast network. Yeehaw! That's the best joke I have for you today. We can squeeze that over. I don't think that's going to make a difference, but I'm just trying to show you the changes being made. Welcome to the comedy section of my podcast network. I can change the title of this page. I can put in multiple pages into my navigation, right? So if I edit this page one more time and change the title, we can say comedy podcast. And we'll call this comedy podcast, update, preview, You can see the title and the menu change to comedy podcast. And I can go and I make the true crime podcast. I can make the business podcast. As long as I've created all of those series, I have podcasts in there, I can then make any number of show posts available, right? So instead of all episodes, this could be comedy podcasts. And then I could keep making more. Again, I can make the true crime, I can make the business, and in each one of those, I can make it look different. I can have 3 columns, 4 columns, no columns. Totally up to you on how you want to do that, but you can place them on every or any page in your WordPress website. Okay? Lots of stuff in this video. I don't know how long it went, but I recorded this the first time. It was a half an hour, and I was using the wrong microphone. So it was totally lost. So there it is. The way podcasts work with Seriously Simple Podcasting, it uses a custom post type called podcast. To show that on your site, you have to add it to the menu of your WordPress site. It's going to create a default archive page that most likely looks something like this. People can scroll through it, click into it, and listen to it if that's what you want. You can use a shortcode, drop a shortcode into the site, and just have all of your episodes on one page and just say, forget it, I don't need all this other stuff. I just want this one thing. They can listen to it. They just can't click into the individual episodes. This shortcode change, I forgot to show you this. You can actually create a shortcode for just those series. So if you wanted just the comedy podcast to play, you can do that as well, using and modifying that shortcode code and saying just play the series comedy. So you can use a shortcode, quick and dirty way to do it. Or you spend a little bit of time using something like the WP Show All Posts. If you're using a page builder like Elementor, it can also do this for you, but a little bit higher learning curve there if you've not sunk your teeth into it. Many different ways to show your podcast on a WordPress website. If you don't want any of this and you're hosting with Castos, you can just grab an iframe and just drop it into your site. I did another video on that. I'll link it up in the show notes below. Okay. Lots of stuff here. I hope you found it useful. Thumbs up if you like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you want more stuff like this. Okay, we'll see you in the next episode.